Hello. Welcome. Wait, what? No. Welcome. I'm here once again to tell you how to live your life. No, that's stupid. I'm kidding. I'm here to talk about some stuff that I think is relevant to some Zoid shit, relevant to myself, relevant to a lot of things. Hopefully that you guys will find useful. I don't know. We shall see. But I have thoughts, and this time I actually asked for some submissions. Maybe it's because I haven't asked for so long that I got very few, but I did ask for some, and I think I got a few. So we'll see how those work out. I haven't read them. Obviously, I don't read them. And remember, anytime somebody submits something on the Deranged channel on the server, it just goes to a little special channel where I can see it and nobody else can. And I'm not going to read your usernames or any of that. Honestly, I could care less which username is submitted. I just like to get submissions and just to get the information out. So it's not about who submits information; it's about that it is being submitted. But it is nice when I see a large amount of them. But this is not the case today. So maybe again, some Zoids like vague questions, some not so much. So it is how the cookie crumbles, as they say. So what did I ask? Well, let me see if is the music too loud? I feel like it's a little too loud. All right, let me. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So, what did I ask? I asked the following. Well, it was more of a. Well, I didn't even put a question mark. Did I? Oh no, it wasn't a question. It was more of a statement that can be like responded to. Not technically a question. I said this. And remember, if you want to get pinged for when I post something like this or when the stream's on, please go to the hashtag other channel and select the role that says Inks YouTube. Select that role. You'll get the ping when I do it. Just in case. Doesn't mean you have to show up. Doesn't mean you have to do anything. It's just in case the topic I'm going to bring up is interesting to you, you have a chance to watch it when I do bring it up. Or if you want to get notified about the questions, just in case it's a question you are interested in and you can answer, and I can read out loud anonymously and then respond to it or kind of react to it in whatever way I see fit. Okay, anyway, this is what I said. Navigating this often strange and confusing and often depressing world, as someone that has felt alien to it most of their life, tell me about the ethical/moral system or rules you have created for yourself, even with that disconnect in mind. So, a trend I often see among schizoids that whether it's people saying they are and intimating experiences that make sense and are very common, whether it's on the server, whether it's through an email or whatever I see, whether it's through a DM, whether it's through the Schizoid Reddit, because I know it's full of like all kinds of dumb shit, but like there's occasionally posts on there that I'm like, that's a Zoid post. So you like it, you kind of know, like if you deal with this shit, like you kind of know when a post on that Reddit is like legit and when a post on it is just kind of like, oh, this person probably has some other issues. That sucks, but this ain't it, probably. But in any case, a lot of Zoids seem to have these like really, I don't know if well put together, but sometimes they can be ethical kind of moral frameworks for how they wish to involve themselves in the world around them, and regarding people that they will encounter, even if they aren't very many. They'll have a really kind of set or constantly developing, but it has some like core tenets that they follow. And oftentimes they are very much running sort of, I don't know if parallel is the right word, but running alongside the sensitivities they already possess. So as I always mention, the schizoid sensitivity is autonomy above all else. It is not rejection. It is not abandonment. It is autonomy. The fear of that autonomy being consumed, engulfed, chipped away at, and so on and so forth. And they use things like self-sufficiency and a variety of other things, isolation, in order to, well, a lot of times a lot of Zoids are self-sufficient because it's the best way to be isolated, right? Because then you don't have to ask for very much help ever. But in any case, it's all about protecting that thing. And so a lot of their kind of the frameworks they build for themselves internally about what they will do in the world, even if it's not very much like on an actionable level, but like what they believe about how certain things should be handled and what is like ethical, they'll have that pretty well established. They'll be working on it for like their whole life, right? If you're like a Zoid in your like late 20s or like early 30s, you'll know what I'm talking about. I mean, you don't have to be that old, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's like a work in progress that's constantly going on in your head. You build new rules, new ideas, you test things, but there's always kind of like a little framework that you don't fuck with too much. You don't go past this. And a lot of the rules, that the major tenets have to do with the respect or the boundary giving of other living things, specifically humans in most cases, autonomy. It doesn't even have to be humans. I've seen it extend with a lot of Zoids to just life, especially, you know, animal life, things like that. Right? And so they may have like a value system that doesn't necessarily put like most people generally do. It doesn't put like things like pets and such on a like lesser pedestal than human beings, right? Because there tends to be even a sensitivity to the autonomy of an animal that can sometimes be seen there, right? Its ability to live its own life, to just exist, unbothered. Sometimes it's a very kind of like important thing to some Zoids, so depending on how far their sort of that autonomy-related sensitivity extends, you know, how broad it goes. It usually goes it goes reasonably broad. So. And so I asked, like, what kind of frameworks have you built for yourself over the years? I mean, I know that I've gone... Oh, hold on one second. Sorry. Okay, there. All right, we're back. Okay, sorry about that. Unfortunately, the area where I stream is also a place that sometimes people in my family occasionally, rarely need stuff. They know when I'm streaming, but if it's like something really important, they'll come in. And I know I'll interrupt it at least one more time because my daughter, everyone's used to that already, though. My little one comes in and that one I'm absolutely fine with. In any case, I would say, chat, tell me what I was saying. But I doubt I'll get any response from that. Oh yeah. the autonomy thing, and then the frameworks that we create. So I had noticed I was similar growing up. I sort of saw these terrible things in the world. And most of the things that I was sensitive to, that frustrated me, that angered me about the world, had a lot to do with that. It had to do with human beings or in living things, whatever, being sort of captured and controlled under like a system of like unchecked power and such. That just kind of like prioritizes things like comforts over, I don't know, human suffering or something, right? And so like things like that would always get to me, and it was always that feeling of like there has to be a what's the word? There has to be a different way. There has to be a better way to do this. Obviously, when I was young, I couldn't think of a single goddamn like way you could do this. I just had this feeling inside when I was young. Like I had this feeling inside of like, this is really not how things should be. This feels wrong. This feels out of place. This feels icky. I probably at a real young age couldn't like really explain it. I didn't have the language, the words, what have you. As I got older, I got more language, more words, more ideas, things like that. And that allowed me to start getting that icky feeling inside that I had as a kid. And it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And oftentimes, for a lot of Zoids, it also turns into a source of resentment toward a lot of their own species and such. A source of resignment to sort of giving up on their fellow man, or at least their place in the grand network that is human civilization, right? Look at this feeling. And I think there are different ways a person can nurture that feeling into something positive, into something negative, and then in most cases with Zoids, into something neutral. It probably likely only harms them in a way that they probably won't recognize so much later in life, or when it becomes like unsustainable. So, in any case, so obviously this is coming from somewhere, right? There was, as I said before, there was a child that saw the world and saw what it liked and didn't like about it, what was cozy and not cozy. And for the person that grew up and developed like they did to have this PD, things were relatively not cozy most of the time. The world felt not cozy most of the time, and that's an understatement, to say the least. And the detachment, the disassociation kicks off. Gets stronger and stronger as you get older and older. And part of me feels like, because, I mean, like I said, this is all my opinion, this is all my armchair shit, so part of me feels like part of the reason it gets more potent, the detachment gets more potent, is because you become better capable of understanding what feels icky. And you, in that growing understanding, fucks with that growing sensitivity until like the levee breaks, and then boom, right? For a lot of Zoids, from experience and from what I've seen, generally like the true Zoidiness doesn't kick in until like adolescence, and then it just like kind of snowballs fairly quickly, I would say, until they are at a point in which they're like that for years, and by the time they're like in their early 20s, they don't really recollect what it was like before that occurred. It's almost like all that got like forgotten or erased or what have you. Right? And if the memories are there, the feelings stop being there. I remember having a lot of memories I could not feel any longer. And I could feel that there were feelings there, but I cannot access them. They're gone. So that made me question if there was feelings there at all ever regarding those memories. But yet, still built this framework, still built this thing. So why are schizoids so often preoccupied with ethics? Now, they may talk, and why is it that they tend to have a very strong cognitive empathy? The cognitive empathy, I think, is pretty easy. Well, it's easy in my opinion, because I think individuals that often deal with a lot of trauma, any kind, there's two directions, or there's a few directions that can go, but one of those directions is that it could significantly develop that cognitive empathy. Because when you're isolated, when you feel alone in the world, and you are in an uncomfortable state for a significant amount of time, you start having empathy for other things that are alone, for other things that are feel out of place, other people even, outsiders, and things of that nature. I've discussed before how that can get a little toxic, but most of the time it's generally fine. And most of the time it's just internal. So you're not going to go out of your way to, like, I don't know, enact your philosophical beliefs, which is a different problem. That maybe kind of ties into this. But point is, it came from somewhere, right? It did not come from the void. It did not come from the place in which the detachment and disassociation came from. That is not where your framework was built from. Now, if you want to argue that that framework was built from the pain that you endured when that sensitivity as a child was still at its heightened state, then I would say yes. That pain could have helped shape your ethical framework, because suffering and trauma can often shape an ethical framework for the, for better or for worse. I think for the average human being, it's either for better or kind of slightly worse. But I don't think most people go the real bad route most of the time. They also don't go the real good route most of the time either, but whatever. In any case, I don't think I've ever met a single schizoid that doesn't have a frame of reference when it comes to a well thought out understanding of what their ethics are. Like many will say, emotionally I feel like I don't care about anything or anyone and so on and so forth, but intellectually, cognitive empathy wise, like, I understand that I do not like to suffer, so why should other beings suffer? Blah 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 blah. It wasn't always coming from there. I don't think it always came from an intellectual space, a cognitive empathy type space. I think at some point or another it came from what is often deemed an affective empathy, experiencing the external world and the pain it seems to sort of exhibit through the life that exists around you, and feeling that pain directly because of that sensitivity that you might have had as a child, that I believe most schizoids had as a child. And I think a lot of the trauma also comes from the fact that we were probably very curious children. That, well, curiosity isn't exactly always a trait that is nurtured, especially if you're curious about the wrong things, in accordance with the locals in your life. But anyway, so I think it stems from there. I think that's where it started to be built, from that pain, and also from what things you still do or had found beautiful, or were in awe of, or appreciated, regarding your existence as a child, the things you liked and the things you didn't like, the things that felt right, the things that felt wrong, things you couldn't quite express or word fully, that you can express in word now, but now emotionally, yeah, it's not working so good, right? So now that you have the words, now that you have the intelligence to be able to really flesh out what feels good and what doesn't, or what did feel good and didn't, what was made you so sensitive as a child, it's like you retained the information, but you lost the emotional connection that was there because it was an adaptive thing to protect your psyche, to protect, like, yourself, your sanity, your ability to cope and manage. It's incredibly overwhelming world you exist in. Unintuitive world. And as I've discussed before, I think the reason it snowballed in adolescence because, once you start going teens or pre-teens and stuff, that's when things start becoming more socially confusing, and that's when your peers start reprioritizing social concerns over curiosity. Curiosity you might have still possessed. And that was no longer relatable to your peers in many ways. And vice versa. So anyway, let me read the ones that I got before I forget. Here we go. Okay, I only have 3 submissions. I would have loved more, but y'all are unpredictable. That's all I gotta say. I don't know what question's gonna get me like 10 submissions and which one's gonna get me 2. So I used to try to figure out what it could be when I would do this. I gave up. I gave up on that. It's just too unpredictable. And it makes sense considering the demo. But anyway, here's the first one. And the cool thing, though, is one of them is a wall of text, which I appreciate, actually. I like when it's like that. One is a very short one, and one is on me. So we got Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear. Let me read the first one. This is the longer one. Warning, : I don't know if you can read some parts on stream without the platform flagging or something. Saws. Let's find out. I have utilitarian ethics. Utilitarianism is something that is fairly popular on paper, but rarely accepted in practice, because it requires detaching from emotional biases and social judgments of what is right and wrong. And an isolated thought experiment, I think it entirely justified to murder 100 innocent with a chainsaw if it will save 101. What kind of normal person can say that with a straight face? I don't know. But if you'd rather the 101 die instead, aren't you prioritizing your petty feelings and sense of moral purity over the life of that one extra person? I should note that utilitarianism isn't actually that extreme practice. For example, some argue it doesn't care about equality because the well-being of someone in a majority group counts just as much as that of someone in a minority group. That's true in a sense, but a utilitarian would probably point out that wealth inequality, including inequality of power, resources, etc., is bad because things have less value to someone the more of it they already have. So the same amount of resources has greater total utility, but is distributed more evenly. Thus, it becomes consistent with most people's intuitive sense of morals. When you properly think about it, utilitarianism, usually, only leads you to extreme conclusions if the circumstances are extreme or contrived to begin with. For example, in practice, there's never a situation where you will somehow magically save 101 by murdering 100. There's even a utilitarian argument that the psychological consequences of others knowing about the massacre or the legal and social precedents would set, etc., could outweigh the life of the 101. So maybe it is wrong it is the wrong thing to do after all. It gets real confusing after that, right? How do you describe an entire moral framework, let alone find the energy to convey it to someone else? Well, this person's doing it. Even so, you have to be willing to, and at least contemplate things that seem emotionally or ideologically extreme in order to truly engage with utilitarian ethics. I think this is something that most people are bad at because they self-censor their thoughts in fear of social judgment. I'm not afraid of having thoughts. I may be afraid of expressing them, and I may be skeptical of them, but letting them run into dark places and back is necessary to think clearly. That last part was especially well said. Yeah. Being able to think about extreme conditions and situations that are unlikely is still a pretty good way of experimenting with extremes, which in turn you can sort of obviously bring it back to reality and then see how that actually plays out in a day-to-day basis, right? Because there are certain philosophical, political positions that, or what have you, that work within a certain scope and does not work so well in more macro type ideas and scopes. Or it might work better in one set or category and not so much in another. I don't believe these types of ideas, these philosophies, have to be across the board on everything, every category, every demo, everything. Ethical frameworks exist. Yes, they do. But I don't know about making... I never agree with making any single ethical framework your like catch-all for everything. I think the best thing to do is to establish different ones for different times, different events, well, just different conditions. I think that is what's more useful, right? Because there is like there is some conflict, and some I disagree, but there is some conflict, and I don't know. Some people would say it's interchangeable with what I view to be utilitarianism and pragmatism. Because there are utilitarian ideas that on paper sound really good, but because of human beings and how they react and what they do, would ultimately cost far more, even if it's correct or is better. There's so many variables there that no amount of information available, at least currently, can really tally up what is the truly utilitarian output. Because you can only work off so many, like, points of data. I am not a moral relativist. No, but I'm also not. It depends on how you explain it. I'm not. That phrase alone is just so packed with goofiness. Hold on, give me 1 second. Is it on now? Shit? Oh, that was just my daughter, as usual. The usual. Anyway, moral relativism gets weird because, like, it goes in that weird category of, like, everything being objective, nothing is true, there is no morality, blah blah blah, that is of any kind of consistent kind, and things like that. And I mean, although I can't, this is what's funny. Although I guess I would be considered a moral relativist, I still believe that there are certain morals that will produce more, I guess it would be, I don't know if you want to call it productivity or more perpetuation of life while reducing suffering. I think there are moral frameworks that you can build that do that. Now, are they objectively correct? No. That's goofy. That's goofy goober shit. Does that matter to me? No. It doesn't matter to me that whether it's an objective moral framework. Like, oh, this is morality, and it gets like dogmatic that way. Now, that's pointless. You don't have to like fight for something and support it and defend it for and it just because it's something that's relative to individuals and groups of individuals. And plus, I would assume the closest thing, just a thought, the closest thing to a objective morality would honestly just be whatever culmination of ideas that would most impact a positive influence in the perpetuation of life and the reduction of suffering without also removing that which makes life interesting, right? Life meaningful. Increase meaning, reduce suffering, balance meaning and suffering, and increase like life. Yeah, and like things of that nature. So I would say that's impossible. You can't do all that. But I would say the frameworks that are built around that are best. And frameworks that are built around otherwise are bad. And that is my opinion. But I will fight and die for that opinion. Absolutely. So, anyway. Here. What do we do? I don't remember what my original train of thought was. Oh well, I got the next one to read anyway. Okay, so next one here. Let's see. This is a short one. It's hard to express my sense of morality. In one hand, I know what's good and bad, but on the other, I'm not sure if I stay good, only to preserve peace. Actually, that's a pretty good point. Often, that is a question that often comes up. It's like, how much of... Because that's something I was actually going to bring up, and it is a question to kind of counter some of my own beliefs regarding why the schizoid generally has like these strong ethical frameworks. Somebody can like argue that it's all there because of their sensitivity, their fear, and that's all it is. And it isn't really built upon any other like major structure. That is the structure that holds up their ethical framework, is just fear of conflict, and that conflict causing their autonomy to be stripped, chipped away at, damaged, manipulated, transformed, and what have you. And so it's not really about other people's autonomy, it's just about yours. And you're just trying to protect yours at any cost. And I think that's kind of bullshit, personally, because I think there's a lot of schizoids that will literally like they literally allow their autonomy to be chipped and manipulated and lessened or controlled by others in their lives because of their ethics. So I don't know how that would make sense. I don't know that conflict avoidance for the purposes of keeping your own sense of autonomy safe would really fit the bill. I don't know if that's what they meant. I don't think that's what they meant. But that's just kind of like what's in my head. Because then if that was the case, then you would build a framework that would be not just idiosyncratic or whatever, but it would also be pretty like pretty cruel, pretty self preservation focused and nothing else. I don't think that's what most schizoids built for themselves. I really don't. I think there is a reason the literature has mentioned that schizoids will have these flights of like ethical fancy, of like not flights of fancy, but like they'll just like do something out of character when given an opportunity when it comes to something pertaining to their own sense of ethics. They'll put themselves in a compromised position to defend these ideas, which is really interesting considering, you know, we're supposed to be kind of lacking in emotional passion for anything. So that's bullshit too, I think. Even if a lot of us, I recognize mine now, but a lot of schizoids basically cannot recognize what that passion is or where it stems from, or they might find themselves defending something that's within that framework without comprehending emotionally why they would. I'm sure they would couch it all with some kind of intellectualized sort of explanation, but there is a source, in my opinion. There is an emotional source there. And that's why, like, even something like the first person that submitted, even them saying that, like, oh, utilitarianism is detaching yourself from, you know, this and this and that. It's like, yeah, kind of, but utilitarianism also, like, you have to define what is value, right? You have to define what are we utilizing? Like, what is the goal? Like, what are we trying to achieve, right? So you can be utilitarian in a lot of ways, depending on what goal you're constructing. And if the goal is, say, like the betterment of mankind, well, then that's one. But maybe your goal is the betterment of all life, and that's going to look real different. Like, you know, the plans you set in motion are going to look very, very different. And I think what that utilitarianism is working toward, regardless of how detached it becomes in order to achieve said goal, the decision of the goal itself is emotional. Very emotional. I think it's I think it's kind of goofy goobers to think otherwise. I've been saying that word a lot. I don't know why I like that word. It's so that I never even got into SpongeBob. I really like the way it sounds. Goofy goober. But so I think a lot of people, a lot of Zoids that have these kind of like clinical, intellectual, total cognitive empathy frameworks that they don't really connect to anything emotional within themselves. I think that I wouldn't call it a mistake because I don't think it's anything intentional. I think it's not a mistake, but a repairable error. I'm not sure how to put it. Like, you're essentially not accessing all of your faculties. Faculties also means, like, you know, your emotions. Those parts of your brain are not actually being the neurons aren't quite firing on all cylinders in every part of your brain. And that being that one, the emotional one. But it's there. It's still sparks, plenty of sparks there. But yeah, that fire is very hard to light, and it would usually require like an extreme circumstance. Like, I personally can't imagine too many schizoids that would be driving down a like an isolated road and then saw like a car crash into a tree, right? And, you know, and not like they I know they'll think a few things, but I know at minimum they will call 911. They will look at the license plate, they will report it, and once they see anybody rolling in, they'll probably leave. Or they may just suck it up and stay. Or if they're really say sensitive to that particular situation, they will attempt to risk their own safety to see if there's anything they can do to help the person. But I guarantee you, even the one that decides to do that is going to be telling themselves, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a fucking idiot. What if this is just a ploy? What if this is like a trick? What if, why am I doing this? And probably berating themselves the entire time. But yet, I don't think they will do nothing. I don't think their indifference, their aloofness, is going to allow them to just see that, go, not my problem, and keep driving. I really don't. So where's that coming from? What do they have to gain there? If gaining something is all there is. It's not going to be a important sense of self. It's not going to be like, well, I saved a life. It's not really going to do much for us, is it? They're not going to be like feeling super good about it, thanking themselves, patting themselves on the back for doing it. So that's not the reason. But what is? What's the sensitivity that allows it? That's a circumstance in which there would be no lawful or possibility of your autonomy being negatively affected, right? Because it's an almost empty road, and there's a car that looks like it recently crashed into a tree. Nothing would happen to you if you keep driving. But why is it that I believe most schizoids would do something about it, even if it just meant parking, looking, calling 911? Negation of pain from who? Whose pain? Their pain? Why would you feel pain? Because there's something very real there. Why would you feel guilt? You're that disconnected from both your feelings and the world. Why would you have a discomfort with breaking your own oaths? Being a person that is now a hypocrite of their own ethical framework. Why would that be causing pain? And yes, I've heard of antinatalism. It is it's some silly shit. Only because the one of the main things I have with some people experience emotional distress when seeing others in pain. Yeah, but if you drive away, then you stop seeing it. So why wouldn't they just drive away? Why wouldn't they just get away from it and abandon it? If it was just about getting away from the pain, that'd be the fastest way, right? Don't look, keep driving, pretend it didn't happen. Yeah, I doubt most of those do that. I'm not sure what we're pushing back on this one, but keep going if you want. Antinatalism, I have a lot of issues with it. But one of them in particular is that if you're going to be an antinatalist, I think, even though I still disagree, if you're going to be an antinatalist, you should be there's a word for it. You should be anti-life in general. If you're going to be like an antinatalist, you should be antinatalist about all life, all living things. And I think that's silly, because then somebody's just projecting their own pain and agony and their own sensitivity to the pain of the world onto everything and everyone, and calling it like ethical. I think that's dumb, personally. So, because the reason I say that, yeah, Nephilist. You might as well be an Nephilist, and that shit's stupid too. Like, because an Nephilist should just like, well, like, if you think dead is dead, then just exit. Because then you won't be aware of any of the life, so it won't matter. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why do you have to take everyone down with you? It's like trying to take away the agency of everything else and just being like, everything else should agree. Like this is the right thing. Everyone else is doing the wrong thing. Yeah, Nephilism, yeah. Everything else in the world, every life in the universe is doing the incorrect, unethical thing. But I know what the ethical thing is, and that's to stop procreating. And I think it's funny when somebody like applies it to just humans, it's even dumber. because they're assuming, I'm glad you do, they're also assuming that what human beings are doing is not also an instinctual biological imperative, and it is for most people. And also, most people don't see having a baby and trying to give them a life and doing everything they can, and then sometimes it's very successful, sometimes it's not very successful. Oh, wait, doesn't that happen in nature all the time? Don't sometimes the nest falls out, and then the fucking eggs break, and then like that bird doesn't get to have any fucking babies? And then sometimes all 5 eggs survive, and those birds live full lives where they mate and they die of natural causes. And then there's ones where they grow up and they die in less natural causes. Oh, in fact, you could argue that being hunted is a natural cause, if you want to go get silly. I don't understand how they think nature is wrong. Yeah. Okay. That's like the hubris. The hubris is like out of control when it comes to that, in my opinion. Nature is wrong. Okay. I'm glad you think so. Because it has suffering inherently. Okay. Okay. Like I don't like it's just, what kind of universe do they think should, like, that is just no life because they're suffering? What a silly thing. Because different people, different creatures are willing to undergo suffering to live. If suffering was as bad as you're saying in comparison to life, then I'd assume more living creatures would just check out. It's just, it is an okay moment. I just want your take. No, I know, but I'm like really annoyed. I get really annoyed about antinatalism and and ethilism. I always forget that word. I just, it feels so self-centered. It feels like a projection of your own misery and your own miserable life onto everything and every other life. Because I'll tell you right now, all other life, not all of it, but a lot of other life, if you said, don't you agree that we should just not do any of this? They'd be like, no, fuck no. Life's worth it. Life's worth it. What are you talking about, asshole? See right there, that guy? Unethical. Yeah, okay, idiot. I don't know, man. That's my opinion on that matter. Yeah, that's like one of the few ethical frameworks. But what about the opposite, though? Like someone forcing you to have children because of objective morality, like in religion? No, that's fucking dumb too. That's retarded shit too. Like dogma, I'm not a fan of dogma. I'm a fan of somebody. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm okay with like consensual dogma. Does that make sense? Like, I have no problem with consenting to a dogma, but non-consensual dogma, fuck that. But if somebody goes, I accept this dogmatic version of my beliefs, and they have the ability to exit it whenever they want, but it's something they accept, that's a lot different than something that's being enforced. That's why you need separation of state and church, is because you don't want dogmas to be enforced by the state. You want dogmas to only be socially enforced by the people within that community. And if people think that that social enforcement is not worth it, then they should be able to exit. And if enough people stay, then what are you going to do? Strip them of their own autonomy? But yeah, it comes down to a lot of things. There are a lot of factors when it comes to that I think about. It's not black and white at all. Nothing is, in most cases. But in any case, yeah. So yeah, antinatalism, ethilism, dumb. Dogma that's non-consensual, dumb. Anything else? Since we're talking about ethical stuff, you seem to be having fun, so why not? No one else is in chat, so I'm gonna answer your questions. And if you don't like the answer, if you think this topic is boring, then change the topic. Type something in the fucking chat. Change the topic. For example, like laws you might not agree with, you can't just exit society. Do you think you should be able to somehow? Like a lawless island? Should you be able to exit society? Well, a lot of people try, and that's why things don't work so well for them, because there is a setup. But also, I think, well, obviously the ultimate way to exit anything is something that we all know exists. Okay, so that's, and I don't have to repeat. So that is something of an exit. But if you want an exit in which you can continue to live your life and exit, it's kind of, hold on one second. All right. Sorry about that. I am trying to remember. Today is a weird day. I usually don't get this many interruptions. So I usually like maybe one, maybe two. But and it's not pinned by the same person either. It's like different people. In any case, laws. I don't know why I added laws. Oh, okay, yeah, the lawless island. Yeah, but that gets weird because like if you go to a lawless island, then there's always going to be laws. Like, 'cause there's no such thing as a lawless island. There's no such thing there's no such place outside of it in a fantasy in which you can get a bunch of humans together and the laws won't be established of some kind. Now will there be like ethical laws? I'm probably not. But will laws be established? Absolutely. May that law be established by an autocrat or someone that did might makes right? Yes, likely, but they are laws. Now, humane laws, I don't know. I don't know how you could get that. I don't think that's gonna win in the lawless island wars. Like, might makes right will win 90% of the time on lawless island. 100%. It'll be 90% of the time, 100% of the time. Or 100% of the time, 90% of the time. I don't remember how that works. But yeah, lawless islands sucks. No one's gonna want to go to lawless island. I'll tell you that. Even if you, there's no society that is so bad that you want to go to lawless island. It would have to be like extremely bad. Like extremely bad. Yeah, kind of thin anarchy always is temporary because someone takes advantage because people are greedy and like power. Yeah, but see, like there's a big old counter to that stuff because I of recent I've become if I wanted to designate myself as something, I've become far more of an anarchist. Because I think there's like a weird understanding Because there's different like angles, there's a different way to talk about that shit. And when it comes to anarchism and myself, I think of like, I think in a far more macro, my schizo ass thinks of it in a far more macro way. Like if you try to like enforce it right now, no, that shit would fucking collapse instantly. When I think of anarchism, I think of it as an ideal that, if even achievable, would take thousands of years. And so the only thing you can do if you're someone that is an anarchist and alive today would be to advocate for things that allow human civilization to get one micro step closer. Hierarchy is inherent to human nature. Anarchy fails. No, hierarchy is not inherent to human nature, because that is a fallacy. I believe that human nature is a fallacy. I think that term is a fallacy. I think that the human brain evolved to basically adapt to anything. It would just take a lot of effort, and the likelihood is incredibly low. But the human brain can adapt to almost anything. The human brain can adapt to a society in which that human nature is curved. And probably over the course of many, many generations, it won't even be as much of a problem anymore. But that's not happening anytime soon. But if you can, but an anarchist, I think, in my opinion, like a real anarchist would be like, yeah, a realistic anarchist would be like, yeah, that's not happening. But what step can I take in my life, or what can I advocate that it allows laws and ideas to go one more step closer to that kind of world? Yes, I know that. The past does not make reality. We have a lot of things now we didn't have in the past. And we stopped doing a lot of things that we used to do in the past. And our sense of hierarchy has shifted from one of might makes right entirely to sort of, not really, but, you know, ideas regarding meritocracy and other things like that. They have become more discussed. Technology is getting involved. Human longevity, all kinds of fucking elements are reshaping how we define a hierarchy. It's only a matter of time before you have a form, well, it's not only a matter of time, it's just an ideal, but there could be a form of sets of laws and ideas in which the governed are just the governing are more susceptible to punishment than the governed. Can you give an example of an ideal where anarchy can exist into the future forever, excluding extinction? No, it would not live into the future forever. Why would I think it lives into the future forever? That's dumb. No, it would probably like last for a while and then disappear again. Well, but that's everything. So then you're just getting goofy now, because like that's everything. Like I don't even think human civilization will be around till the end of time. That's not gonna happen either. So like, nothing's gonna last forever. But every time it breaks, hopefully we try to get it back again, because that moment in time in which it's working is beautiful and glorious. So how does it not fail? Yeah, you're right. I mean everything fails though. So you're just hitting that wall. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, okay, everything fails. And what? Like with enough time, everything fails. It's such a pointless like thing to like okay, let's just not have a discussion. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Let's just not have a discussion. Why are we even having a discussion? It's just all gonna fail. I don't care. I don't care when it's gonna fail. I don't care that it fails. Just fucking do it again. Fuck it. Sisyphus. I don't care. Call me insane. I just don't. And plus I can't even foresee what the future could possibly turn into and how sustainable something can become, because I don't have visions of the future. I don't know what will be available. Perhaps we will avoid extinction entirely. I don't think that's ever possible, but I don't know. Maybe we'll become masters of time and space. I don't fucking know. Maybe we'll evolve and over generations, like millions of generations, like we actually, like, there is no, like, you know, the time and space becomes irrelevant to us, and we become like cool super beings that float around, don't look remotely human or something. We don't even remember what that was. Like, there is no, like, archive of it. Shit's gone for eternity. Like, I don't know, man. That's why it just gets boring. That shit's boring. I mean, unless you want to talk like fun science fiction, that shit's boring. So, oh yeah, there was one more. Okay. One more submission here. Let's see here. This submission hasn't really gotten the time and care it should have gotten, but hopefully it has some points to ponder. One way about life is to have a very objective view on the world, which includes moral and ethics. That's, I get, yeah. I mean, not really, but I'll see. Okay, objective morality. It would be to have an objective view of moral and ethics. Objective morality is a heavily discussed topic, especially within theology, and it has many interesting points on all sides. Perfect morale and ethics can in some way be expressed as goodwill with a lack of ego. Thus, being distracted from both your own ego and others. As long as you follow good intentions for the world, you can go a long way in being a good human. In Christianity, this is expressed as doing some action, not for yourself, but for God, which attempts at removing the imperfect individual part of the equation. That, you know, that's what's so interesting. Like, because you can replace God with, like, universal better good thing that I was discussing earlier. Like, if you're, like, totally secular, you're just not down for that shit, like, you could just replace it with that. Like, increase meaning, balance, the perfect balance between meaning and suffering, and then trying to find a stasis that has more productive suffering than unproductive suffering in the existence of things that are alive that you have any control, or your civilization or your people have any control, influence, including life that is not human. I think that would be like the greater good. That, like, sound like a Tau, you know, Warhammer. But anyway, but yeah, I think that would be the greater good. That would be secular, but still very philosophical. So yeah, I honestly think that, I know this is gonna sound really wacky, but remember, I'm the macro-associative guy, right? I know a lot of you Zoids out there are autists, and God knows I love you, because fucking my shit would fall apart without a fucking autist, when it comes to, like, practical things functioning. Shout out to my mods on the server. But, man, I lost my thought. I had a really fun thought, macro, before I said that. Shit. Someone tell me what I was about to say. What did I say before that? Before I said the comment. My Vyvanse is running out. It ran out an hour and a half ago. What the fuck was I saying? God damn it. I had a fun point. Can anyone tell me in chat? Was anyone paying attention close enough to even remember? Because God knows I can't pay attention close enough to remember my own words. What was I saying? I think it was going to be fun. It was going to be a fun thing to say. I'm going to put a little feather in my cap for saying it. I don't even know what all I know is all I have a memory of is it was going to be a fun thing to say. And I can't remember what it is now. And I was talking about macro morality. Wait, it's coming back to me. Life. Man, it's lost. Thanks, chat. Oh, it's gonna bug me. It's gonna fucking bug me. Come on, arbitrary, you were listening to everything, you're fucking going back and forth. You don't remember what I said? God damn it. Went from anarchy to, wait, no, to anarchy. Anarchy exists. Example, ideal world. Yeah, okay, we got past that. We got past all the shit that's in chat. I can't remember what I was saying. I'm gonna remember after this. I cut the stream, which I'm gonna do pretty soon here. That's when I'm gonna remember. And I'm gonna fucking punch myself in the face. Because I hate that shit. I hate when that shit happens. Yeah, it's fucking gone. I would literally need one word, and it would trigger everything. One word. Maybe I will say the word if I talk long enough. Maybe the word will come out of my mouth. No matter how small or large it is. No, it's not doing it. Oh, this is gonna bug the shit out of me. You guys know what I'm talking? Does this bug you when it happens to you? Is it just me? Like, when you have, like, a thought that you were like, and then it's just gone? Does it bother you? Or do you just go, I know it's more of an ADHD thing. Oh, man. Like it's frustrating because, like, I had this, like, I connected a dot, and then I figured out the words to use to say it, and then I was like, yeah, I like the way that sounds. And then it's gone. All that's left is the feeling that I liked what was going to be said. Now, how good it actually was, that's, I don't know. But I just know that I felt like, that's fun. I want to say the thing. That thing, I want to say it. I want to say it. You can't relate, yeah. I want to say that thing I was about to say. But now it's gone. Nuts. I mean, I'd rather just have dead air than give up. I'm pretty stubborn. What the hell was I saying? I just need to know where we went after the anarchy thing and the hierarchy thing, philosophy thing. I can't remember where we went. Okay, so before I forgot, last I remember you talking about secular worldview. Yes! There you go. Thank you. That's what I was going to phrase. Yeah, I think that is... Thank you, Anti-MS. Yes, I think that is what atheists or whatever, people, even agnostics, if you're like, I'm on the cuff. I mean, on the fence. I think that's what atheists and agnostics or whatever should replace God with. If you can't, like, if you want, like, just something conceptual because, like, you don't think there is a God or a lot of stuff, which is, I call myself an apatheist because if there is a God or if there isn't, ultimately it doesn't change anything other than, like, I might have some questions and then I have better shit to do. Like, it's not gonna, yeah, it's not gonna do anything besides me just going like, oh, okay, I guess that was true. So why this? Why that? Why this? Oh, that's why? That's dumb. And then I just move on. But yeah, it was the idea, yeah, they should replace that. Why don't we do that? Why don't we just call that, like, the greater good or something, you know? Because ultimately, like, because what it said on here, it said that, how did it describe it? The submission that I got? Christianity, this is expressed as doing something, some action, not for yourself, but for God, which attempts at removing the imperfect individual. Yeah, it's the same thing. The collective good. To a certain degree, the reprioritizing of the individual within the self. Yes. Yes. I think that is one aspect of something like Christianity that I think is pretty rad. It's the whole, oh, it's not just all about me. It's not just all about me and just my family. Right? Nepotism, bad. So, oh, and trust me, I know there's plenty of hypocrisy in people that are Christian as well, but that's everything. Human beings do all kinds of dumb shit for dumb reasons. Anyway, but yeah, let's do that. So if you're an atheist, just go, maybe that should be the thing that I don't pray to. That could be your counter. If you want to debunk, if you want to be somebody that's like, well, I don't need God, bro, because I got reduction of Unproductive suffering, increase of meaning, bro, for all living things. You can do that. That'll work. I mean, I'd be fine with it, personally. I got the rest of this here. I thought one might observe, however, is how this allows your own judgment to perceive value of others. Most people are unable to look away from their subjective and egoistic opinions. Some might even think that some immoral action is funny in the moment. Believing in more objective ethics and morale will label such behavior quite negatively. Yeah, that's one of those things that's weird. That I would say a lot of normies do. They'll if something feels good now, then they'll kind of like set aside like more long-term or like more abstract ethics temporarily. And one of the ways they do it is by saying, look, I know I shouldn't laugh, but I know I shouldn't laugh, but and so it also depends on what you're laughing, why you're laughing, I think is important. Like, for example, if I saw something like horrible and dystopian, and I might laugh. I might laugh in like that painful laugh. I might laugh and just go, you know, like, fucking, everything's over, it's fucking crazy. Like, I might laugh in that kind of like way, but I don't think I would be like, I know it's horrible, but like, isn't it kind of funny? Huh. Like, and I don't know. Did not happen to me, so not funny. Like, I don't. That's weird. That's fucking weird as fuck. People do it all the time. Well, it's funny too, because like, if I call them out, I've had situations where I don't call them out like, you know, like, I'm not like, hey man, like, no, I don't do that. That's not my like style. Like, but if somebody says something like, yeah, like, when I see this, I do this, because like, you know, everyone's got problems, or something like that. My reaction to that is usually like, yeah, I'll say something like, oh yeah, I mean, that's good, because like, that's what the other person's gonna think when you're in a similar situation. So I'm sure that won't bother you. I'm sure you won't be upset that they thought that. And they'll be like, oh, you know, I was just messing, man. I was just like, exaggerating. It was just whatever. I'm like, yeah, you think about that. You think, use your brains. You metacognate, go for it. Metacognate, just a little bit. Get that little fart out. That little metacognition going. It makes you feel a little bad for thinking something so dumb. Good. Goofy. The worst person will respond with, man, that's kind of rude. Oh no. Yeah, that person you want to stay away from. You're killing the vibe, man. Oh, cool, man. I don't live for the vibe. I don't live for the vibe. That's not why I live. Anyway. Okay, guys. If you like the stream, if you like what I talk about, if you're a schizoid that's either an autist or a schizo, or you're one of the people who says, I'm neither. Fuck you, Anx. You gotta be that shit to be a schizoid. You're welcome too. Whatever you want. I don't care. I call it copium. No, but really, thank you a lot. And if you want to support me and my endeavors, which part of my endeavors is like finding a way to stay sane, then I would join my Patreon. Or if you don't like Patreon, because fuck them and they take a piece, PayPal. And if you're like, fuck that, I don't want to pay taxes, then let's talk about a drop-off. I'm kidding. No drop-offs. Drop-off spots. But other ways, if you're broke, if you're a broke bitch like me, then please support by posting links to my streams in places that are relevant. Or you can get a clip and then put it somewhere, like this Schizoid Reddit. Or a Facebook group with a few Zoids that might think, wow, that was kind of cool. Like, do that. You can do that. That's the way you can help. Okay. Anyway. Oh, yeah. And if you want to get pinged for the streams, remember, go to hashtag other in the Zoid Void. Select the Angst YT, Angst YouTube role so you get the pings. And I feel like I'm missing something else I keep wanting to mention. Oh, also, if you get that role, you'll also get pinged when I announce anything, but you'll also get pinged when I post. Oh no, you don't have to ping that. Never mind. Just keep an eye out on the forum, because we now have a forum section on the Zoid Void server. And you can actually make a thread yourself. You can make your own thread, and then just like put your ideas, and then people can discuss them on there. Clip, clamp, spank. Yep. And I sometimes post a thread there that I call the official Schizoid life tips. And so that'll be like things that I think are pretty cool life tips for Zoids, for like managing certain things or ideas or whatever. When I come up with something and I'm like, yeah, and I'll put it there. And I'd like for you guys to discuss it. I got a lot of thumbs up, but no discussion. I prefer discussion because, like, I mean, support's cool, but I'll be honest, support's like fucking ass compared to like discussion. Like, because support just means like, hey, you did a thing and I like it, which is cool. But I'd rather you not you could just not thumbs up it and then just type something. Just type anything. Be like, I agree for the following sentence, or I disagree for the following sentence. Like, you're stupid. Like, I would prefer seeing that than like just, you know what I mean? Not that that's bad, but you know what I'm saying. I don't need validation. I need information. That's a good line. Ooh, good shirt, right? There you go. That's a Schizoid shirt right there. I don't need validation. I need information. Bam! Mic dropped into my brain, giving me an aneurysm. Alright, guys. Peace out. I'll be on the server, probably, fucking around. If you see me, any one of you is welcome. Oh, and that's going to be the theme for next Tuesday. I am tired. And whatever, get mad. But I'm tired of you motherfucking lurkers on the server not giving VC a shot. Remember, you do not have to say a fucking word. You can jump on there. And many of the people that do jump on there are very much used to having to deal with people that only type. You can just type in the chat and interact in that manner if that is comfortable for you. If you want to do more than that, please join the VC. There needs to be more conversations with bigger variety. I keep getting people joining the server, and some of them are in there for a while, so I don't know. I have no way to know how much they're lurking or what they're looking at or not looking at. But step one, put stuff in the fucking chat. Your ideas are useful to someone somewhere at some time. Type shit in the chat. I don't want to see the same handful of, not handful, but like the same names over and over. Because it's not the issue is that there isn't more names. It's just that those names are going to only give me like produce a subset of certain ideas and stuff that they're going to say. I want yours. So try to be less lurky, please, and chat. And even if it's just to drop one line and then like just drop one line and duck out, that's cool too. Do that. You don't want anyone to respond to what you're saying? Drop it in no reply. We got 2 channels. Happy shit, sad shit, angry shit. Put it in. No one, the rules do not allow anyone to reply outside of putting an emoji. I would love to see new names in there with new things. So do that. That's an option. If you don't want to participate in a conversation, but you want to get one started, make a forum thread. Put the thing you're interested in, people discussing. Maybe you'll get a few that do. Maybe you'll discuss it. I don't know. Do that. That would be cool. All right. In any case, when day is dark, always remember, happy day.